Are we? Okay, there we go. We're officially live, and now we can carry on chatting. Yeah, see, the thing I like about live is that I don't get to say, cut, let's do that again. I made a stupid face, or I said something stupid. I just have to throw myself in and do it, because I am also an overthinker. Hi, so this is Dara, overthinker number 2. You're younger than me, so I was overthinking before you were born.
I'm sure there's a small gap. I'm 39 soon, so I don't think we're that far apart.
I'm 45, definitely beating you. I can hear myself. You're wearing headphones, I'm wearing headphones. Have you got Facebook open?
No.
I got Facebook open? No? Oh, well. I'm just going to have to hear myself talking. Delightful.
Okay.
Welcome to Dara. Is it okay if I ask you to introduce yourself to our 2 people who are watching, mystery people? Thank you for joining us.
I also figure, I mean, it's funny that our topic is about kids, and then I was thinking that, hello, overthinker. I was thinking that in 10 years they're also going to be watching this, and so it's not just
be careful what you say.
Yeah. So hi, I'm Dara, and I'm going to overthink introducing myself, actually, because even it's funny. When I was on the I used to work in the Jewish community in Australia, and when you're in the Jewish community and on the conference circuit, or I don't know if it was a Jewish community thing or an Australia thing or what it was, or an age thing as well, but we would introduce ourselves a lot of the time by who our parents were. And so I would say, hi, I'm Dara. My father's from Odessa and my mother's from Australia, but her parents are from Poland. And that just made sense to everyone. It just meant that, okay, now I understand you, and that is your identity. I don't do that anymore, but I don't know if it's because now I have more of my own story or what.
Absolutely, and no one knows who your parents are here. Well, most people don't know. We've got a little guest here.
Oh, hello.
I definitely told you I was doing a video, but we've got an important question. What's the important question?
Where's the yoga mat?
Where's the yoga mat? In the basement.
Who's doing yoga?
He's 7. He's the yoga mat.
My 4-year-old loves yoga. From lockdown, we got into what's his name? Jamie, Cosmic Yoga. He's hooked.
Yes, that's what we were doing. That's so funny. Oh my God.
I'm such a fan. I want to meet her. I'll be completely starstruck.
It's called, the channel on YouTube is called Cosmic Kids, right? Is that right?
Cosmic Kids, yes.
Cosmic Kids. I think we almost went through all of them.
Yeah.
For anyone that hasn't discovered Cosmic Kids, it's incredible. Usually around half an hour of yoga based around storytelling. She managed to do Harry Potter in half an hour, Wizard of Oz. Yeah. Oh God! I mean, it started off with Minecraft. That's how we found out about it. I was like, "Do you want to do Minecraft yoga?" And that hooked him in.
Yeah.
But,
exactly.
So, I mean, not that we've started with the 7 things that you've learned from your kids yet, but it wasn't necessarily what I learned from him, but it was just from the interaction. I could see how important it was to him that we stayed consistent with it.
Yeah.
He really didn't want to let me off the hook.
Yeah. Needed the anchor.
Yeah. So you were introducing yourself not according to where your parents come from.
I was introducing myself. So I am originally from Australia. I now have 2 kids, a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. Sometimes a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. I don't know what the order depends on how I introduce my kids. I'm married to Gavin, who's from South Africa. And that's me. I guess that's how I define myself now. I'm working at the National Library of Israel, professional life, doing digital education.
And you happened to kind of accidentally set up a little business during lockdown.
Yeah.
How's that been going? Tell us about it.
Yeah, there's a lot behind that laugh. It was like a huge roller coaster because it was both amazing and overwhelming. I also like 39 and after 2 kids, and we've probably done, so I feel like it's a big stage of life where a lot of women, I've had a lot of conversations with women particularly, who are thinking about what they're doing in their career at the moment, and in the future, and it's this big crossroads for a lot of us. And so I was very much so at that point, and started a new job in February, and then it was I was doing a cybersecurity mega conference with people from 80 different countries and 9,000 people. Like, it was going to be this giant thing, and then Corona happened, and so a few of us were let go. Makes sense. And then 2 days later, the schools and preschools closed. And just because I wanted to do something for my kids, because I also kind of like what your son needed with the yoga, I needed, and I saw my kids needed, just some kind of anchor or framing, just something to set ourselves up. It didn't need to be everything that was planned and finite to the last minute, but just something. It also couldn't be the other way, just do everything on a whim. And so I did something for myself, and then it helped other people as well. And then I found other like-minded people, mostly mothers. There was a dad as well, actually. And who were also planning this kind of way. We were doing themed weeks and themed days, all based around play. It was all about play, and like they learned through play, but it wasn't academic. And then suddenly, we looking after our kids, but also building what essentially felt like startup pace. I was up till like 2, 3 a.m. We were building infrastructure, content, distribution channels, marketing. It was all free. No, I mean, there was no funding in this. Everyone was working just purely voluntary capacity. But it meant that, we were just doing everything at once, and more people were joining along the way as well. So there was also this like onboarding and training and seeing what people's strengths were. And so, it was this whole giant, amazing experience. One thing we never did was we ended up with about 10 of us. And then post-lockdown, a couple more people joined. But we never did the Zoom where we all were just together, actually. But but it was just amazing. It was an amazing experience. At the moment, we kind of winding it down for a whole lot of reasons. People are also getting back to work and focusing on other things. We're just doing some Jewish holidays at the moment. But this is the focus of what we want to talk about. But it was a really crazy and amazing and overwhelming experience.
Wow. I mean, when I saw it, I just thought, like, it's the kind of service that you see, like, I see, like, in England, America, like nothing like that available here. I'm not surprised you had to wind it down because, like you say, everyone had to get back to work. But I think, I'm assuming that, that would be the main reason, because I would think that something like that, if people have the time for it, could really go far.
Yeah, I definitely have considered the direction. It could go in 2 different places. It could be just it could continue as a non-profit. It could also continue as a company. It could be a real startup. I have thought about what a lot of, not just parents were in touch with me, but educators. There are so many talented people out there who are either creating content, who have the capacity to create amazing content for kids that don't have a home. There's kind of the formal educational institutions, but there's this whole other giant space of informal or experiential learning and learning through play and all these people. I kind of felt like I have a responsibility and to honor them and to find something for them. And so this idea of a 2-track business, I toyed around with like the idea of kind of like first an Etsy for education, informal education, where people are developing content and anyone can access it and buy it directly through the people, especially now. Like so many people are looking for that kind of content. So one side is the Etsy part, and the other side is the gig market. So it's like a Fiverr marketplace for Jewish or general educational content. It could be either general or specific. Where it's a gig market and people are looking and people have the talent and they can match each other up or be matched up. But that's huge. It's so huge.
That is. I'm tired just thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, I think what all of us felt when we were doing Little Compass was it was amazing. But then I wanted to get back to my kids. I really did. And I spent a lot of time planning for them that I needed to get back to doing it with them. And so that's where we're at right now.
Okay, so tell me, where should we begin with these 7 things? I'm very excited to hear about them.
Oh yeah, I can already
begin at number 1.
We're never going to get start from the very beginning. We're never going to get through 7. All right, the first one. I think the first one that was the most clear to me was also the way we started lockdown. I mean, these are things that I learned during lockdown, but then it started off as a thing of lessons I learned during lockdown, but that was also because lockdown's part of a pandemic. Pandemic is crisis. Crisis amplifies things. So lockdown, for sure, yes, we're in 4 walls, but also it just made me more open and aware of certain things, I guess. And so even though some of them stem from the lockdown, I think I just realized that they're just broader anyway. And I'm sure people identify with it as well. I don't think most of it's revolutionary. It's just also where I've gone from one place to the other.
Right.
So the first week of lockdown looked like this. So the first day, like everyone's fully clothed. And then the second day.
Do they have shoes on?
No shoes.
No shoes.
Yeah. I don't know where it came from, but we all take our shoes off when we walk in the door.
So do we. We put them by the front door in a basket.
Yeah. And I didn't grow up like that, so I don't know why we do it, but I like it. I like looking better. So no, there weren't any shoes on the first day, but there were clothes. But the second day, they definitely had one less item of clothing. Third day, one more less item of clothing, and by the 4th day, they were naked.
And you're like, why am I counting days and what day is it?
Yeah, exactly. But it was good for Gavin does all of our laundry, so it was great for him. He didn't have to do as much laundry. So I didn't learn from them to walk around the house naked. That's not the model.
Okay, that's disappointing. I was hoping that would be on the list.
Sure, you're a sample. No, not R-rated. What I did learn from them was to be naked emotionally, because they are, because that's what kids do. I mean, there's a lot of, brain development going on for sure, and learning how to cope with emotions and regulate and whatnot. But ultimately, kids get naked emotionally. They let loose, and they don't, clothe or hide or cover their emotions. And as adults, we learn to control them. We need to control them, but it becomes kind of one-dimensional. Like we don't have like a fuller range of emotions, like anger. Like we always talk about the pursuit of happiness, but there are things that like anger and even sadness that we need to, even cabin fever. Like it's okay to feel cabin fever in lockdown. Like it's okay. Just as it's okay to laugh deeply and all those things. But I think more of maybe it's the negative emotions that I was thinking about. And I saw my kids developing new emotions all the time. Like my 6-year-old, especially during lockdown, she found this new anger, and it was amazing. Like it would just start in her stomach, and then she'd just roar it out of her mouth. And then she had this thing where she'd go from one side of the house to the other, the apartment, and she would turn furniture. It was gentle, but she still wanted to make sure that she was angry.
Oh, I'm just going to gently put this down here without breaking it.
Yeah, for sure. There were like 5 chairs, a trail of anger, gentle anger, as she walked to her room. She's also very interesting because she would take herself to her room. We have never told her go to your room, but she kind of knows to I don't know what she needs, and if she needs some quiet time and to just decompress or whatever, she kind of knows how to do that, which is amazing. But even that wasn't the point of what I learned. Like, it wasn't that, oh, this is how we deal with our emotions. It was just that, and it's so simple, but we don't need to always control what we feel. Like we can just feel everything. We can express them. And even like guilt, we feel guilty for feeling guilty, but we should. It's okay, especially if we do something with it. And actually, there is an Australian TV show called Rake, which is where TV shows is where I get all my philosophical advice. There's a great quote that I wrote down at the time, and I'll never forget it. It was that guilt makes us act, and the fear of shame is what cripples us all. And it made so much sense, because even like shame, it wasn't that shame is what cripples us, it's the fear of it. And especially with kids, like farting. For kids, it's a non-event or it's funny, but for adults, oh my gosh, the shame of farting. And I thought, like, if we learn from kids, imagine a world where we fart and it's okay.
I'm not sure I have to imagine that in my house.
So in our house,
I'm not going to elaborate on that.
I hear you. I see you. And it would also help people if we weren't ashamed of it. We'd fart and then we say, "Oh, sorry guys, it was me," and then like it gives people the chance to leave the room or whatever it is. Like it actually benefits society in lots of ways. So this whole idea of just getting naked emotionally and less one-dimensional and feeling lots of different things, even if it doesn't go anywhere. I really learned that from my kids, 100%.
I love that. That is a great place to start, about being emotionally naked. I've taken notes.
I started off thinking about doing a whole blog post or an what's that?
It's a ticker. All right, I'll take it off. It's distracting. That's so cute.
I feel like we're on CNN. It's cool.
Breaking news. Dara's awesome. Yes, go on. It's funny you're writing, because I plan to like write a whole blog post or something about this, but But you know what? Like, I very often when I have things to say like that, I will just say them into a dictation app, and then I have to sit writing it.
Yeah.
You know, you could have, everything that you just said now could already be a blog post if you just press record. I'm going to bring you on to number 2, because we're 20 minutes in, and I'm determined that you're going to get 7.
All right, number 2. Okay, so just to preface it a little, I guess contextualize it, because the whole thing about especially lockdown was we went into uncertainty, and so we were talking a lot about how we need to find the sense amongst the chaos and the certainty and the safety and the routine and the ritual. And so we did some of that. And, it was also amazing how kids are resilient and all those kinds of things. But the thing that I definitely took that away from my kids. I was amazed. But the thing that I really took away from that was the opposite, because I'm good at that. I love finding the sense in the chaos. But what they helped me with is, once we had that foundation, was finding the chaos in the sense, and just like letting go and being silly, and it's so important. I mean, kids, we always talk about they have to behave and they have to fall into line, but kids are also testing boundaries, and that's also a positive thing. Like, probably whoever writes about the startup nation and innovation like this is probably innovation 101. Like you have to go towards the chaos to also create. And so that's what we did. And we did weird, silly things. Like we painted on the walls and we...
Oh my God. I used to do that. I think my kids will even remember it. I used to let them do stuff like that.
Isn't it amazing? Like it was so fun and cool and liberating and
liberating. It is truly liberating, especially if you're surrounded by people like, oh no, like my eldest was born just before Pesach, and I felt like if her birthday came out before Pesach, I was going to make her a birthday party with cake and treats and everything, and then I'll clear up. Big deal.
Yep.
And oh my God, I can't believe you're doing that. I realize how stuffy and regimented you can become as a grown-up, as a GROAN up. And it's true, you need to remember to let go and be silly. I mean, This wasn't even being silly, this was let go and celebrate. It was and I just remember cleaning out before Pesach and finding all her like chocolate crispy treats under the couch, but whatever, you just clear it up, throw it away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's also probably relevant, especially Pesach. Like we look at, ironically, Pesach and the Festival of Freedom, right?
Freedom, exactly.
It ends up becoming the opposite. Like everyone feels so constrained, and this is what we have to do. And Pesach happens to be my favorite Chag.
Me too, of course. There you go, me too. I have to drink some water because I just said me too.
I've got my tea.
I finished my coffee. I'm on to the now.
Okay. I also have water. I'm a water girl.
So Festival of Freedom.
Festival of Freedom, and just taking everything in its stride, and especially now, and especially kids for sure. I'm a planner, 100%, but I've also learned to embrace the chaos and take each day as it comes. And I'd also plan ahead a little bit still. You have to in life a little bit, but also today's what it is, tomorrow is something else, and there's constant flux, like especially kids are constantly changing and developing and I don't know, they just rock up the next day, or sometimes they don't. I guess that relates to the first point about how they handle the change when it's a negative thing. But just embracing change and embracing uncertainty and embracing chaos and being silly and like my son watches TV upside down, and it's great. It doesn't mean I do, but I just love that he just does these silly, wacky things.
I forgot what that was like. My big kids used to do that. I think I have a photo of them upside down on the couch.
It's amazing. What is it about? I'm sure there's something vestibular about it. I don't know. But I love it. Good on them.
I'm enjoying these. Okay. What's
right.
Next.
Next. This is so hard because I also I want to hear from, I love your perspective and your stories. And
all right, when we get to 3, I'll join in.
Okay. I understand we'll never get to 7. Okay, number 3. So it's all about conflict, and also embracing or accepting conflict. And there's a lot of conflict in life, and that could from something as abstract as conflicts of time or conflict of emotions, but even just warring conflict and even kids just arguing, those kinds of things. But for me, what was different with kids is that before I was one of those people who didn't want to engage in conflict and arguments and confrontation. And
I'm not. Well, you were not a person that was I'm non-confrontational.
So I specifically didn't use that term because I didn't say that, because I didn't used to say that. And it sounds funny, but I did know that about myself. I'd rather let things slide than just let's all be happy, and that's also okay. I understand where I was coming from, and why I did it then. But as a parent, you also have no choice. I mean, how many conflicts do you deal with by 8 a.m. in the morning, and like you feel so accomplished because you have, and so you're thrown into it. And so I definitely became way more, but not just about that, but my perspective completely changed. I actually now think in life that we need to like talk about the art of disagreement. Like we need to be able to disagree with each other. And I'd love to, have more Shabbat table conversations where we have chats that we, or arguments that we disagree. An argument doesn't have to be a bad thing that ends in loss of friendship. It also doesn't mean that after you argue, you have to like kiss and make up, but there has to be some middle ground where conflict isn't a bad thing, where it actually could take you to better places. And I've definitely learned that with my kids, and I mean, I need to also work on that skill. I think it's a skill that you have to develop, because like when you engage in a disagreement, you have to do so many things. Like you have to listen, but you also have to speak, and you have to like also find a point of agreement. That's also important. But I also see it with my kids, like sometimes they're both right, or sometimes I'm right and they're right. And that's also a kind of a conflict. But that's okay. That also just led me to embrace that. Like, okay, kacha. Like,
and I think that's where it does lead you in the end, is I'm just going to embrace this. I mean, I'm aware of the fact that my family watch these sometimes, so I'm keeping everyone's names anonymous, but we had a disagreement within our family. We have a lot of them, and I hope that as they get older, I think that they've learned how to disagree in a much nicer way than they did when they were young. You're stupid. You're poo-poo. The disagreements were over different things back then. It was like who took the blue chair and who had the green chair, and she's got more Cheerios than me. Now it's not just, and then all of a sudden we've got ages ranging from 22 down to 7. The things that people care about are vastly different. But we had a bit of a conflict here during Corona time, just to do with how safe everyone's feeling and what your comfort bubble is compared to someone else in your family. Now, this isn't something that you would necessarily go out and sit everyone down and say, okay, what makes you feel comfortable and what makes you feel uncomfortable? What do you see as safe and what do you see as unsafe? You don't, because we've never been here before. We don't have this protocol. I don't know, at least for me, never really occurred to me until it was kind of a bit too late. And we found ourselves in a place where one member of the family was very uncomfortable with something. Another member of the family thought it was like, whatever. And I'm like in the middle on the fence, just thinking, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is that we need to talk about it and we need to do something in the end. But yeah, like, it didn't actually necessarily get to the stage of conflict, but it wasn't conflict like we think, like fighting, but it was conflicting opinions and conflicting feelings.
Yeah, I guess also with older kids, and this is where I just wonder how it's going to be. Like with younger kids dealing with those conflicting things or conflict, it's pretty immediate. Like you deal with it there and then. But with the long term, like there's usually medium term impact or consequences, but not necessarily long term. But with older kids, you don't know when to intervene and how to intervene, and whether they
although there was even something to be intervening about. It can sometimes just come out of absolutely nowhere and it's been building up for ages. I found myself in a house full of adults with people with legitimate, valid opinions. Like, wait, aren't you 3 and like fighting over cereal? How did you get to be so old with opinions and feelings?
Go watch the TV upside down.
They used to do that thing where they'd take their t-shirts off till here and then wear them as like hair around their ears. Yeah, I miss those days. Oh, come on, Dara, what else you got for me? I can't bear the suspense.
Okay, all right. The next two, I guess, are kind of we can do quick. So so number 4 is just perspective in general, which is connected to number 5, I guess, which is just simplicity. But they're both like kids notice things and that we don't, and that just completely has opened my eyes. Even we were in traffic in Tel Aviv once, and I was like so frustrated. Traffic, and we have to go here. And then I announced, oh, okay, that's the end of the traffic now. It'll be quicker to get home. And they both went, oh no, we love traffic. And
said nobody ever. Why?
2 little kids, because there was so much happening. There were so many cars, and there were different people to see, and there was just stuff for them to look at and be engaged with, and then to be entertained by.
That's so nice that they do, because I keep trying to teach my 7-year-old that. I'm like, when I was a kid, we didn't have screens in the car. We just had to look out of the window and play games, and I'm just like, that's boring. It's boring for me. So that's very nice that your kids appreciate looking out of the window.
So when he's a parent, and whatever they have back then in the future, so his thing will be, when I was a kid, I used to watch the iPad in the car. You don't know how lucky.
Yeah.
Something. But even that, like, I'm also, I guess it's all about balance, right? Because it's okay to watch stuff, but if it's too much, then that's where the problem comes. But I mean, I used to not want my kids to watch YouTube because it just led to bad places. And now they've rediscovered it, just because we needed to have, they wanted more Hebrew stuff. And so they just discovered all these things. And so it's actually been amazing that they also then learn how to use it and interact with it in a better way. And we try to find a balance. Yeah,
it's not an absolute. It's like anything. It's like I've tried to make social media a place where it's pleasant for me to hang out, because, I hate Facebook. Like, what does that mean? You do not enjoy being on your Facebook account. That means that you haven't made it a good place to be. It means you haven't bothered to curate the people that you're following, to curate your feed.
Yeah, it's true.
And to make sure that you're consuming news and information that makes you feel good. Like, and if it doesn't make you feel good, get rid of it.
Yeah.
So, I feel like the same about YouTube is that I am trying very hard to make sure that I have some form of control over what he's watching.
Yeah. And then also, I guess they do. Like, I feel like they're so savvy. I already feel, although I feel like a grandma with the old Nokia phone. I remember when they first came out, and my parents struggled to use them, but it was so easy for me. Now I struggle to use those phones because they're really hard. But I guess kids, like, this is also what's so different to be a parent in this day and age is like helping them navigate and helping them see how they can control it as well, and guide it. And but that's a whole other tangent. Okay, let's see. All right, so that perspective, simplicity, I guess. Simplicity.
What do you mean by simplicity? What, like, you mean as in noticing simple things or keeping things simple?
As in, especially with lockdown, we didn't spend lots of money on activities. We used the cardboard box, and our recycling bin was our treasure chest, and we were really minimal about it all. And partly because of lockdown, but also I guess that's just where we found ourselves, and it was really cool. We were just, even the things that we do, we don't do a hug every day. We go and feed the fish, and I love feeding the fish lots of different times. We can go back.
Where are you feeding fish? Where are the fish?
In the lake in Pakranana.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
That's
giant fish there. And also we went to a national park about 10 minutes away. Oh, I can't remember what it's called.
Apollonia?
No,
not that one.
They have catfish. They're really ugly but really hungry, and it's really fun.
It's useful.
Yeah, I'll try to remember it. I'm bad with that stuff. So those kinds of things. We just we had lazy mornings. We snuggled in bed. Like those were simple things. Again, it's a simple lesson or a simple takeaway, but it was just something that we found ourselves doing. We naturally slid into it and loved it.
Yeah.
But I think what was really cool about, and also this isn't revolutionary number 6, but how curious kids are, and how that made me way more curious in life, and like they ask questions all the time, and yes, it's hard to answer them all. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard just because we don't have the answers, and maybe we feel inadequate. But I've also completely embraced saying I don't know. Like I love saying I don't know to them, and let's find out. But it was in lockdown. It was so overwhelming that they were asking questions all the time. So what we would do, we couldn't just deal with it all the time, but I was interested too, and I also wanted them. They're asking questions, they should find out. So we did these. We would write a list every time they had a question. We'll say, let's put it on the list. It was almost
like God, we did the same thing. That's so funny. High five.
So then we would have like 1 or 2 Q&A sessions. Did you do this too? And then we would.
What do you mean by a Q&A session? I mean, I know what Q&A session is, but not with my kids.
So we would go through the list. We called it the Q&A session, and we would go through the list, and they had the questions on the list, and then we would go onto YouTube or Google or whatever, and we'd ask the question, and the answer would come in the form of a video mostly.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. Like I don't really remember a lot of the answers to the things.
I learned so much. I don't know what it was now, but it was awesome at the time.
It was.
I learned so much about volcanoes. I can't tell you very much. I was really engaged in it at the time, and it was fascinating. I learned that there are volcanoes under the sea. I didn't know that. I remember that.
Very cool. I'm going to remember that you told me that. Yeah. I'm going to try to remember that. And they say, what's a piece of information that you know that no one else will know? And I'm always stuck. And so I'm going to try. That's going to be my piece of trivia tidbit thing.
I'm sure it had a special name, but I don't remember. We watched a video about it on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, our idea was, let's get him off the screens. Let's do a project. So I'm like, okay, we're going to write down, every time you talk about something you're interested in, we're going to write it down on pieces of paper. We came up with all these things that he wanted to know, and he has a lot of questions. Where does electricity come from? Yes! And why are things poisonous? And why do volcanoes explode? And I mean, he has become such a warrior. He worries about everything. It's like, when did the last meteorite hit the planet, and when's the next one coming? Loads, like all the things he was stressing out. We got them on paper. We started with volcanoes, and then I realized, where are we going to go research it? We used to look in encyclopedias, but clearly I'm not going to do that. We have to go be on a screen.
Yeah.
And that was the whole point. But whatever, I embraced that. I'm like, this is the only place I have to research it. I don't own a library.
Yeah. And also, I guess it ended up serving a different purpose. Like, he wanted to avoid one thing, but then he needed that outlet, and so reprioritized, and especially if he's a warrior, that completely makes sense that he can see it, it's written out, and I think it has a bit more certainty.
But it was really funny because he was worrying about meteorites, and I was like, I'm totally going to look up just to prove to him that the last one that hit the Earth was like 6 million years ago or something.
Oh, God.
but it wasn't. It didn't actually back up what I was saying. It was actually quite concerning. I'm like, okay, moving on. Let's learn about charts.
Charts. Shark. Like the army.
How would you say shark?
Shark, you're right. Yes.
Shark.
Water.
I know this time has made him so neurotic. He was like bordering on neurotic anyway, but now he worries. I was talking about this on another chat with a friend. He worries about whether what he's eaten today has affected his cholesterol level.
His cholesterol? Yeah.
I had to explain to him about cholesterol. I had some like weird hormonal things going on last year. My cholesterol, my cortisol, loads of things just went mad, and I ended up with these cholesterol deposits on my face. So of course, he was 6 at the time. Kids just say, "What's that on your face?" Whereas grown-ups would be like politely ignore it. "What have you got on your eyes?" So I explained what it was, and I said, it's not always due to hormones. Sometimes it can be what you eat. I was just being all kind of educational, and now it's like, and I explained there's different types of cholesterol. There's like the LDL, the HDL. So it's like, have I had enough of the good cholesterol? So I was like, oh my god.
So what do you do with that?
What did I do? Oh, honestly, I'm just trying to talk about it less, because actually it's not good. It's not good for a 7-year-old to be worrying about cholesterol. But anyway, sideline. You were at number 6. Once I get to 7, I can relax. I'm enjoying this so much. Go on.
7's nice. 7's just love. I mean, we kind of want to teach or model unconditional love to our kids, or whatever that means, or love to our kids. But what was so amazing is, and also love is so many things, like for the loyalty part. Like my son, he's now learned to respect privacy and understands what privacy means, but the fact that he wants to come into the toilet with me and just be with me, and wherever I go, he will go. It's love, it's loyalty. He just wants to, follow along, and like I said, now he gets it, but that idea of the loyalty and the trust, and it's so amazing. And I don't know that I'm taking it anywhere, but I just love seeing it in them, and seeing also the there's also frustration of, I just need a moment alone, but there's also, it's coming from a different place with kids, and I just love that in the middle of the day he'll just say, "Let's hug," and they'll just suddenly come out with, "I love you forever." And I don't know if we assume that kids are going to love us back, but it's either, maybe we should expect it, maybe we shouldn't, especially older kids.
I don't think so at all. Like, I think I don't think it's something that my husband always jokes, like, it was implied. Like, do you love me? It's implied. Lots of things are implied, and I was like, that nothing's implied. You have to say things. They're not implied.
That's a
if you're watching,
line.
James. Sorry, James, for spilling our beans.
You need a coffee mug now with "it's implied."
It's implied.
It's a good line.
I think it's maybe a lawyer's term. I've heard it before from men.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you like dinner? Well, it was implied in the fact that I ate it all.
Well, if he had farted, then that would have, been a different story. Maybe.
So tell me about, so what do you mean about connecting love to loyalty?
It's more about, I guess, all of it as a package. Like, love is a few different things. Love can be loyalty or trust or friendship or so many different things. And I just see it, it's just so, just to see it with that it came from my kid, like it was reciprocated, was just really, it was just really nice. It was just warm and fuzzy and maybe remarkable. I don't know. Or maybe something to just hold on to, because especially as kids get older, I know it will be different. But it was just, yeah, I just hope it's something that I just hope in general that it's just stuff that they also remember and keep teaching me and keep teaching themselves, I guess, or learning from themselves. And in general, like that, everything, life is messy and exhausting and surprising, and sometimes just saying that, just like, and my kids just say, let's have a hug, or the I love you, it just, everything just melts away. And yeah, so it was just nice.
Did you have they changed the way they are with each other?
Yeah, in a big way. They I'd say only towards the end of lockdown, or even not even lockdown, even when they went back to gun, and then they started to realize that they hadn't seen each other for 24 hours in the day. So then they started to just be closer, a lot closer, and giggle together, and have secret adventures. And so, yeah, they've definitely grown closer as siblings, 100%.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Were all your kids at home during lockdown, or did you have kids in different places?
We were all together. Yeah. We were very, very grateful to have a house, because we'd been thinking about selling and downsizing to an apartment. And then all of a sudden we found that everyone had a place to be. My daughter's sitting exams for university, and my son's studying yeshiva, and then another daughter who had to do her Zoom lessons, and my little one had to do his Zoom lessons. We're trying to work, like, everyone had something legitimate that they needed their privacy, and somehow we all managed to find a space, not Wi-Fi, but we found a space at least. Yeah, Wi-Fi sucks, but now I know that we were going to talk about lots of other things and go off on tangents, but we don't really have time, so I have to go now and pay attention to my 7-year-old.
Enjoy. Go do some yoga with him.
God, I don't know. He's got weights and a yoga mat. I think I'm going to make sure that he's not damaging himself. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was cool to hang. You should do it more often.
I'll get you scheduled in now for December.
Very cool. Christmas time, right?
All right, my darling. Thank you. I'll see you soon, I hope.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.